So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning everybody, it's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath today. Now on my show today, I've got an executive well-being coach. What a phrase that is. Mike Pagan is coming up. We're going to be talking all about mental wealth, which is all about how you can make yourself happy by surrounding yourself with other people effectively and how they can help you. We're going to be talking to him in about 5 minutes or so. I've also got in the studio today somebody that's coming in to find out what radio is all about, the lovely Emma. So she's going to be, I might even try and get her on air as we go through as well. So if you have any questions for Mike, then you can text BARS followed by a message to 80011, or you can email studio@radiobath.com.
Does Mama cry?
I love the fact we've started off with Fleetwood Mac and Elvis. There's nothing like starting with something in the 2000s, and this has been nothing like it. But there we go. Anyway, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. Charlotte's up next, of course. My guest today is Mike Pagan. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. Now, we were just discussing, so this chair in the studio, needless to say, a bit like a driver's seat in a car, gets the most use. And therefore, I can move. If I move, you ready for this? Hang on. There you go. So you get to hear the squeak. So ages ago, I brought in WD-40. Unfortunately, it's been used quite a lot, so the lid now is all gunked up. So therefore, I can't now de-squeak the chair. It also means I can't really move. But you mentioned that you've got a story about WD-40. Tell me about your story about WD-40, Mike Pagan.
Talk about starting off left field. A number of years ago, I launched a business program for working with professional sportsmen and women transitioning to their life after sport. And the keynote speaker I had to open this event was one of the original guys that rowed across the Atlantic. But there were 4 amputees on the boat, and there were 2 able-bodied. And so the four guys, he was one of the amputees, ex-military, lost his leg at the hip in Iraq. Great speaker, great setup. Of the amputees, one had lost his leg at the hip. One had lost both the legs above the knee. One had lost a leg above the knee. And the 4th guy who had lost his leg below the knee was known as paper cut.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the kind of black humour that works.
Of course.
So when he did this speech for me, I gave him a thank you gift at the end. And it was nice and simple. It was some red wine for the thank you, some jelly babies for the next activity he was doing, and a can of WD-40 for his prosthetic. I was so nervous about doing it because I thought this could backfire because it's wrong humour for most people, but for him, he still says to this day it's the best gift he's ever been given for delivering a speech.
So did you say they were ex-military?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ex-military myself, and I often say this when people say, oh, is this a bit risky? I'm like, I am ex-military, you're never going to surprise me. You're really not.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The humour in the military is, as you say, quite dark. It has to be at times.
Yeah. Well, it's the comrades in arms. It's the full mateship, as they say in other parts of the world. But that's the power behind relying 100% on the person next to you.
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to my time, I was in the RAF, the only service that matters. Somebody said to me, because I'm from Portsmouth originally, and they said, why didn't you join the Navy? And I went, well, I get really seasick, so that wasn't out. That was out. What about the Army? I didn't fancy getting killed. In the RAF, as an engineer, you stay in a hotel a long way away, and you wave goodbye to the officers in the plane who go to the war zones. And I thought that was a much better gig.
Sounds sensible. And you, to be fair, your clothes generally look better than the other two.
I quite like
it's all and smart and everything else.
It is, although I do quite like the white Navy uniform. That's a decent one. Their number ones is good.
I think you're showing your youth there and the love of Richard Gere, an officer and a gentleman.
I am only 21, just add 30 to it. Anyway, We're going to introduce who you are at long last.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. Listeners will be thinking, who is this and what's going on?
I think those that have listened to my show before are fairly aware that whatever I have as a plan, I mentioned to you that I know I always have a plan, but I very, very rarely keep to it because, the conversation that we're having is like a conversation down the pub. And a conversation down the pub just tangents off everywhere, and that's what it's meant to be, and therefore that's a natural conversation. So that's the plan.
That's how we work. Love it.
Right. Now I'm going to do your quick desert island style introduction, okay? Now I'd love you to tell me how accurate this is, okay? Because sometimes it's not always accurate, okay? Right, here we go. My next guest today is Mike Pagan. He's an executive well-being coach who works with high performers under real pressure, helping them think more clearly, lead better, and build what he calls mental wealth. He's written books on performance, focus, and why so many capable people end up faffing instead of flourishing. Welcome to A Story to Tell.
Yeah, there's some good bits in there. They kind of relate to it. Yeah, you've even got my faffing in there, which is, I used to have the website stopfaffingabout.com for a long time. It's a good word, faff. It's the only. I always get corrected when I say this, but it's the sound bite though. It's the only 4-letter word beginning with F you can say to your grandmother. And faff stands for the false art of feeling fulfilled.
Is that its official term, is it? Or is it just...
That's a Mikeyism.
Okay.
But that's why, I mean, because you're trying to come up with something that, okay, the false art of feeling fulfilled. Yeah, that kind of sums it up because it's doing stuff that keeps you busy but doesn't necessarily actually achieve anything. Or when you get distracted, or nowadays when you spend endless hours scrolling through social media or whatever else distraction piece you've got going. That is faffing about. And it kills productivity and performance and all the other bits that go with it. And some of the time, you just need to learn or understand or have somebody else say, no, press pause. We need to press pause.
I love the word faff. It's one which I used about a year ago, and somebody said they hadn't heard that word for like 20 years.
It's a great word. It works globally. It struggles because the Aussies and the Kiwis, they get it. The Americans need it translated. The Canadians need it translated, and the Europeans think it's spelt PHAF. And Professor Pfaff was their lecturer at school or uni or something. So it needs lots of translation in Europe. It doesn't mean anything like the way we think of it.
No, I love the word. Now, let's find out a little bit more about you. We're going to talk more about your books and all your philosophies as we go forwards. But first of all, I'd love to know how you got to where you are today.
Well, once upon a time when the moon landings were going on, my parents... that's totally random. How we got to where I am...
Do you know, I wondered where you were going with that then, if I'm honest with you. I was like, that's 1969. Okay, where are we going here?
Well, so this is the joke with my family was I was conceived in the 60s and born in the 70s. And then when the moon landing celebration was going on at 25 years, I worked out the maths that was around about the time that my parents might have been involved with each other. My dad's response was, yeah, well, it was a bit boring. So you kind of, okay. So hence the language of how that works. But yeah, so I had a corporate career for 10 plus years. I then got accused of being the best salesman in the world as we went over to Australia, where I joined a .com business. Went there with my wife, baby, rucksack, no car, no job. And then came back 3 years later, same wife, 2 children by this stage, a small container ship full of stuff we'd picked up, and set up a business in a country I'd not lived in for 3 years, in a location I'd never lived in before, in an industry with no proven track record, taking commercial skills into medium-sized businesses. So it's a little bit different.
Just a little bit. What took you to Australia then? Why did you want to go there?
Well, this was one of those things. The black and white was not waking up at the age of 50 and saying, what if, or if only. I always wanted to have time living and working overseas and doing other stuff. And that reality of, you want to live life with no regrets. And it was one of those areas. A trip like that or an experience like that takes a lot of energy, a lot of work to make it happen. And there's always going to be certain people who are supportive of you doing things like that because they think you're a bit crazy, a bit wild, or they might even get a bit jealous and say, "Oh, you're so lucky." But actually, the effort to make it happen. And you're flying by the seat of your pants at times. Just don't know where you're going, don't know where you're going to live, don't know how you're going to make a crust. But that's the energy, and it's so exciting. And then whilst we were there, we sadly lost my mother-in-law just before we returned. And that said, we'd always planned to have maximum of 5 years, and it was never forever. But that's the whole point of it. You can still change things, and my kids are all very, very happy with us nowadays because they've all got dual passports, and one of them happens to be at university out there nowadays, and now he's got long hair and moustache and a dodgy accent, but that's kind of what you expect from Aussies.
Do you take the mickey out of his accent then?
Absolutely. Comes back here and he sounds like a fair dingo Aussie, and then within a week or so all his mates have abused him so much that he has to get back into blighty Britishness.
I'm glad you did the Australian accent then, because I love doing accents, and I've been told very recently that when I do accents, I do it out of love. So if I'm doing an Australian or a Yorkshire accent, or whatever it may be, I do it out of love. But apparently some people are taking more offence in the woke world we're living in about people doing accents. Yeah.
I've got to be careful what I say. It's really. I was born in Birmingham, so whilst I have somebody refer to my accent nowadays as it's a cosmopolitan accent because it doesn't have a location attached to it. A couple of sherbets in, and then the odd bit of Aussie might drop out, or the odd bit of Brummie or whatever. But generally, you can't tell where I'm from my accent, apart from, it's definitely British.
It's definitely British. Now, it's time for some music. You've chosen a number of the tracks today. We're starting off with Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. Why this track?
It's just Queen. It's however you dress it up. I'm not quite a middle-aged rocker, but it's Queen will always get you smiling. The energy, that film Bohemian Rhapsody was excellent. It was the first of the really good versions of that, and I was thinking what Queen track would work there, and what we're talking about today, I thought that fits.
Brilliant. We'll be back with Mike right after this.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive, and the world, I'm turning inside out, yeah.
Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. My guest today is Mike Pagan, who's an executive wellbeing coach. We've kind of got a little bit on your journey. You've gone to Australia. You've come back. We haven't really said what you do yet, but we'll get to that point in a minute. Before we do anything else, though, when I was researching stroke stalking you, I've also, by the way, you've also gained another sale on Audible, and I'm intrigued because I bought your book, which again we'll talk about later, and I was listening to it on the way in. Very good, by the way. Do you actually get any money from Audible? I'm always intrigued when you get a sale.
It's one of those areas where, yes, you'll get a token. It doesn't repay the mortgage, and the whole point of the book sales is cumulative volume. The publishers get their cut, the Amazon or Audible or whatever else get their cut. So it dribbles down the line, and it's small beer that comes across. Unless you hit the dizzy heights of Harry Potterville or whatever else equivalent when you're selling millions, in which case then you make millions.
Yeah,
it's a reality check.
It's a nice little bonus.
Exactly. Well, it's also I was challenged on that one because I didn't do the audio book originally, but then it was you're cutting off a large percentage of readers nowadays if you haven't got one. So that was just a reality check to me to get on with it and get it done. And as it is, coincidentally, since I wrote that book, I one of those older people who learn about how dyslexic they are.
Okay.
And it's something I didn't know. My daughter got diagnosed at university, and I was reading books about trying to help her and understand better. And I was thinking, I do that, I do that, I do that. And so I got tested, and suddenly, oh, she got 2% on one of the tests, and I got 1.
Oh, you've outdone her.
Yeah, exactly. She's gutted. But the reason why I was sharing that was prior to me getting to that, I started going into Audible and starting to listen to books. Now I know, well, that's why, because I have the reading speed of God knows what. But now, so clearly I was cutting myself off from reading a book.
Yeah.
So hey, do it, get on with it. So I did.
No, I mean, I listen to audiobooks all the time. The main reason for that is the only chance that I would ever get to read is when I'm laying down in bed at night. And my wife, she's lovely. She really is, Zoe. What she does is I lay on my back and I've got the book. I'm doing the description now for everybody else that can't see me. And she's laying on my left-hand side. Apparently this is oversharing, but let's go with this anyway. And I hold the book up in front of me. But the problem is that I have a real problem that I start reading and within 2 or 3 pages, I am falling asleep, which is a great thing. However, if you've got a heavy book that's in front of you, what tends to happen is you drop it. Now, if you drop it just on yourself, that's one thing and you wake up with a start. If you drop it on your wife who's fallen asleep at that point, apparently they're not too happy.
No. Book on face whilst nodding off. No. That would hurt you afterwards.
We've had some, I like to call them discussions. They're normally one-way discussions. So audio books is how I listen to books now.
Well, I doing something whilst listening, whether you're walking the dog, whatever it is. We're in the process of moving house at the moment, so I was cleaning down the house we're moving out of, and I had an audio book in for 3 hours, just literally because you're manually distracted doing all the sorting and then listening away to the stories going on in your head. So yes, it works.
It does work, and this will also be created as a podcast as well. For anybody misses any part of this show, type in Radio Bast, any podcast provider. You can catch up with this show or any of the other. I worked it out the other day. There's 160 shows on there now. And
brilliant.
My wife was like, she was going somewhere and she said, I want to listen to one of your shows. Which one? Oh, and that was like choosing your favourite child. Didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I can believe that. And it's how you use that information. You think, okay, well, refer back to that one. Yeah. But 160, I mean, that's 3 to 4 years worth of material. That's a lot of memory span.
It is. And, I'm very fortunate. People ask me sometimes, why do I do radio? And I was like, well, I get a chance to chat to people like yourself. How else would I be talking to you right now? And I love it. I get to learn from so many different people. Talking about you, though, let's go back to you. You've come back from Australia. What happens next?
Okay, so then the business, it became the language as it is nowadays of business coaching and executive coaching and so on. But at the time, I was just going into organizations and helping them. And it's also getting up on stage as well. So that's when my speaking career kicked in as well. And through the journey, I've had some brilliant years. I've had some atrocious years. And that's what I've been doing for sort of 20 plus years now. I had the privilege at different points. I was working with professional elite sportsmen and women transitioning to their life after sport. And that was fascinating work because they're all there. They weren't the A-listers, but they're the people who we know. We've seen them on the TV. We've seen them in the Olympics and the other sports arena, Paralympics and so on. But they were all in this mastermind environment that I'd created for them. But it was multi-sport. So I didn't want 8 Bath rugby players talking about Raljecks and biceps, because they clearly would know a lot about that. But one rugby player, one Paralympic sit skier, a hockey player, a golfer, a sprinter. Suddenly you've got this eclectic, dynamic mix in a room. All of them are depreciating assets because they've now retired. All of them are lacking in direction and identity. Or none of them want a job. All of them want portfolio careers. And so this whole setup of just sharing their common theme, even though they didn't know each other's sports, but their common theme was that whole support. And who are they? What's their identity? Who's their support network around them? Because this transition space left them hugely isolated in a way that's kind of, I've no idea what I'm going to do next.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because you've got these top-level athletes. And I remember going back into the football in the 1980s. The classic thing was a footballer would retire and run a pub because they didn't kind of know anything else to do. They'd been in the pub, so they then ran a pub. And they've been right at the top of their game. And certainly, unless you're a footballer, all the other sports don't pay a huge amount of money, which I don't think people realise. They're not massively wealthy. So they've got to do something, and their skills are very narrow. They're very niche. So what are they going to do next? And is that where you come in, really?
Yeah, and it's building that support network around them for the way ahead. And this sort of gave me the language of mental wealth, as I call it, because they were suffering from mental poverty. So it wasn't that, and when we use the word mental, straight away people think, oh, right, the negative side of poor mental health. But actually, this is about understanding we're all on a mental health spectrum every day. And there are good days and there are bad days, and there are people that need professional intervention, and there are those that are just, I broke my egg this morning when I was cooking my breakfast, that sort of thing. It's not a disaster or a catastrophe, but it's life. And it's knowing, okay, when we've got good people around us, then that poverty edge means they're asking better questions of us than we're asking of ourselves. They're challenging the status quo. They're holding us accountable for the things we say we're going to do. And if you've got good people around you, then that works. The issue is we spend most of our lives fixing, solving and supporting and helping everybody else and not looking after number one.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a little example here of hopefully, and I love your take on this, about the kind of support networks. I'd give a lot of support to a number of people, but my wife this morning, I'm talking about her twice now, she went to work and then she phoned me, said, I think I've left my glasses at home, and she normally wears them on her face. And I was like, okay, I've left home, unfortunately, because I was on the way to the station. And then she messaged me a few minutes later saying, it's okay, they were on a desk in another room when she was at work. And I messaged her back saying, try not to make any decisions today. Because I thought, if that's her state of mind, that she's left her glasses somewhere else, just live today.
Yeah, just clearly, do not make any investments today, please. That could be punchy. But that's the whole part of this is when we have the understanding that the people around us are good, aren't good for us. Or actually, we just don't have enough of the right people because we're spending the whole time fixing everybody else. That's just a reality check. And it's quite scary when you realise that the people around me they're there because they were there before COVID, but are they relevant now?
Fair enough. Now it's time for some more music. We're going to keep going. I know, it's going through so quickly. At the specials, we've got A Message to You, Rudy. Why this track?
I wanted feel-good music for today, because a bit of good old Coventry ska music it's going to put a smile on my face. Hopefully, others. It's not played regularly on the radio because it's a unique tone and take, but it's good. It's good fun.
Love it. All right, we're back, Mike, very shortly. Time for the next part now with Mike Pagan. He is a mental wealth expert. We haven't mentioned your name yet and religion. Pagan, how come? Just talk to me about paganism. Well, not the paganism, because we're not that type of show, but...
the thing about the name Pagan is there's so few, so it's memorable. Am I religious? I'm spiritual, but non-religious. Is probably the way to put it. My uncle researched it, and we go back to it's a Scottish family, but we go back to southern France of the Paganos, because they were the Catholic priests that used to kill the pagans, and they got named the pagans, and then it all comes back through over centuries to Scotland. So it's an interesting one. But when I got married 30 years ago this year,
Congratulations.
a lucky lady.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I know. I know my daughters are listening to this at the moment, so they'll be going, "You're gonna get punished for that one." But we got given a plaque by an American friend called the House of Pagan, established in 1996, and it goes on the porch in the way into the house. And we've always had fun and games with that when you get Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons turning up at the door, because you can just point at this plaque.
Yeah.
And are you really? Oh, okay, bye.
They don't hang around for too long then.
No, it doesn't.
I have the weird thing in that there are, I think, 8 billion people on the earth, something like that. And I am the only Richard Beauvoisin in the world. There is no other.
There you go.
Which is very, very bizarre. And many, many people have said to me when I've made that statement, thank mercy for that. Anyway, back to you.
There is another Mike Pagan, and he is a professional surfer in Hawaii. And I used to have a Twitter account, and I'd be getting all these videos dropping in, going, pick this radical dude, what's it, all the other surfy language. Wrong Mike.
Different Mike. Now, going back to the high-performing people, I'm always intrigued, certainly those that help high-performing people, what kind of sets them apart from Joe Average?
It's aside of the obvious things like skill, talent, and mindset, that they have the right people along the way with them. So if you look at any performer, elite performance individual nowadays, they've got up to 30 people in the back room looking after them.
30?
Because it's everything from the physios to the kit to the psychotherapists to the mind coach, all that list. This support group that gets you on the pitch, in the pool, on the park the following day is huge. So that's what sets people apart, because nowadays it's not just rolling on a pair of boots, putting out your cigarette and pint on the side, and out you go. It's a very different world at the elite level because of the dedication that works with it. And you see the kids being sort of, I was about to say the word groomed. No, that's not the right word. But being coached from sort of toddlers on the hope that they will become this elite person 15 years later is just massive. But that support along the way. And so it's when you take that theory of a support network around you that is so powerful, so strong, so brutal where necessary, and then apply that to Joe Average in the working world, be that as a C-suite executive or a first entry-level job or whatever else it is, we need people around us that are going to stimulate, motivate, challenge, role models, whatever it is, to help us raise our game.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to be average.
Now, I'm going to go, I don't know if you're a cricket fan or not, but I'm a big cricket fan. And okay. England just played down in Australia. And there was a lot of criticism for the England cricket team about how they performed, but also how they prepared and the people they had around them. Now, they have a coach, and they had 2 members of staff, a bowling coach and a batting coach, but they didn't have a fielding coach with them. I think they had somebody there that was one person that was looking after the mental health of the team, but that was about it. And that was for 15 players. Yeah.
I'm sure there are more associated, because obviously back in the UK, they'd have had a lot more going on there. The difference is when you go to Australia for the Ashes, and I was talking to a former exec from the ECB about this, he said, what people don't realise is the level of absolute one-eyed hatred and desire to beat the Poms in the Ashes. No other touring team has the same impact. And to the point, he was describing a situation where this journey from Sydney Airport to the hotel, There's a number of years ago now, but it's still relevant. It's probably worse now. And all the billboards along the sides of the freeways, alongside of the motorways, had all been adapted to welcome the English cricket team. And it was vociferous. It was vicious. Just bunch of losers, go home, this earner's ours, get lost, all that sort of stuff. And so you suddenly realise how venomous and desired that cauldron of nastiness, sledging, banter, whatever it is, and you haven't even got on the pitch.
Yeah.
And so when you take a team, as has just been out there, they are a brilliant cricket team, the England team at the moment. They failed to perform because of 101 different reasons, depending on how much of a sporting anorak, cricket anorak you are. Everybody will have their opinions, but they didn't immediately just turn into a rubbish team overnight. But the cauldron of cricket over there, just as much as when the Ashes is over here, our record is far better. Because they can't play swing the way that we do, but they can play fast. And their wickets are a little bit questionable. But we're getting into cricket anorakville, and I'm sure plenty of people going, I don't like cricket.
There are lots of people that like cricket, but not as many as I'd like. There is one show a year when I bring my neighbour in, who's a cricket umpire, retired ex-RAF officer, and we do the Ask the Umpire section, which is where you create silly scenes and is it out type thing. But I allow myself one show a year to purely talk about cricket, and the station controller loves that week. He really does.
Well, just to give you a closure on this element then, my father was a cricket umpire. He lived in Singapore for a number of years, and he umpired there and then back in the UK. And there's a famous story of that I used in his eulogy. I'm feeling it now just saying it. He had a challenge where he wasn't sure. So he showed the finger, not the middle finger for those who don't know cricket, just the finger for you're out, and said not out.
Right.
And the bowler turned to him and said, what does that mean? The batsman turned to him and said, what does that mean? He said, I really don't know. So obviously, batsman's favour, clearly it must be not out. And that was the closing line I used in his eulogy. Always and forever, not out.
Always not out. Now, going on to leadership then. So, if we, again, I'm not just going to talk about the England cricket team, but, there are great leaders and there are people that are, mentors. There's loads of different ways in which you can lead. In business resilience, how do you kind of define what is a great leader for yourself in this sort of scenario?
Well, it's great leaders know that they don't know everything. That's the starting point. I regularly use the phrase of working below your pay grade. Just because you happen to have the title doesn't mean to say you have to do all the work. Just because you invented the company, invented the product or whatever, you set it up, doesn't mean to say you have to do all the work. And there's that my wife hates this phrase, the control freakery in all of us, where you just can't let it go. And we need people around us. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. So that description of all the sports people we've been talking about, one of their greatest challenges is asking for help, because I've got to be able to take a punch in the ring. I've got to be able, I can't show anybody else's a weakness in my performance, because they'll use that against me. Same whether you're a C-suite executive in an organization, the founder and owner, or you're a young person starting out. We don't want to tell people we don't know the answers, because either a co-director might use it against us, a stakeholder might turn around and say, well, you're not good enough because you don't know the answers. Your husband or wife will always say, whatever, because they don't really understand what you do. It's harsh but fair. Your mates down at the cricket club, the school gate, whatever it is, will always say, go for it, Richard, because you always land on your feet. It's not really subjective or helpful, but it's nice that people stroke your ego. And the people working for you, well, you can't tell them you don't know what the answer is, because they're the ones relying on your decisions helping pay for their mortgage and their rent and whatever else. So suddenly that creates this whole area of isolation. And the isolation piece is what causes us the problems, because we either don't make any decisions and start faffing about, or we do make decisions and they're not well thought out, well considered, with the right advice and support around it. So in answer to your question about great leaders, they understand isolation, they understand their strengths and weaknesses, and they build the really powerful support team around them that will ask better questions than either they know how to ask or are afraid to ask, or just because it's that subconscious processing, somebody else coming in with an unconscious and a real question and challenge that will give them better decisions, better ways of working.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario now that we had just this last weekend. So for those that aren't aware, I run a dance company. We run lots of events, and we had our biggest event of the year at the Bath Guild Hall. 400 dancers came along, and everybody said what a great event it was. And my answer, and it's always the case, is, because I always say it to myself and my wife, you ran a great event, and like it's purely down to the team that we're surrounded by. And it is that. One of our members of crew, a lady called Dot, who we all love, made 4,500 pieces of cake, which is an enormous amount of food. It really is. And it all got eaten as well, which is quite scary, but there we go.
How many did you have?
I had 0. Scaringly, I don't actually like cake.
Seems sweet.
Yeah, I just don't like it. And just the flavours and the texture and the calories that's there. But I had a moment in there when we have 2 rooms at this event, and I'd love your opinion on this and kind of see where we go with this. So we have 2 rooms. We have the main ballroom, which holds 200 plus people, an amazing ballroom to be in, and then we have a smaller second room, which is a nice room, but it's nowhere near the same standard. The small room is where generally the better dancers danced because of the type of music, and the main room we played a variety of different types of music where the less experienced dancers danced, and the better dancers wanted to dance in the ballroom. So at 11 o'clock, the event ran from 8 until 1 o'clock in the morning, the evening part of it, although it ran from 10 o'clock in the morning. We switched the rooms over. So the good dancers could dance in the ballroom, and then the other dancers could come down. We played their easier music as such downstairs.
Was this competitive or just pleasure?
It's just pleasure. It's all just pleasure. And I deliberated about how it was going to work and what would happen, and we experimented effectively on our biggest event of the year, and it kind of half worked. It was okay, but I asked a number of people what we should do, and nobody had the right answer. And we were trying to please everybody, and in the end, I don't think we pleased anybody. So we don't know what we're going to do next time.
Management by committee is hard work because nobody wants to offend anybody else. Nobody wants to make a decision, so nobody actually gets around to anything. And it's one of those areas I'm not going to go down the politics route, but there's that environment where sort of different parties, different people just never make a decision because nobody's actually in charge. But we don't want to be led by that autocratic, it's my way or the highway. But if you've got a select team around you, then we make great decisions, and some will fly and some will fail. But if we're not making a decision, then nothing changes, and we're accepting status quo. And that's sort of one of those life lessons elements is we have to make decisions, otherwise nothing changes.
Well, I made the decision in the end, and it wasn't the right one, and I'm okay with that. We tried. It didn't really work that well, and we'll try something different next time. It is time for the news. We're getting to that point. You're here until midday today. Time is flying by. If you have any questions for Mike, then you can text Bath followed by a message to 80011, or you can email studio@radiobath.com. We're talking all about mental wealth, and we're going to go much more deep into that in the second hour. Back with Mike after the news. Now, for those of you that were listening during the weather, you may have thought that my voice has changed dramatically. It didn't change dramatically. That was the lovely Emma. Now, I've just been talking about the top that she's wearing. Now, Emma, come around so you can see so Mike can see you on Zoom. Okay, very quickly. This is relevant to the interview. Okay, so she's She's wearing an Australian top.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, okay. And you've just said your mum bought it for you and you like it. So
Yeah.
that's why you've bought an Australian top.
That's the extent.
That's the extent. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. Mike Pagan is my guest. He is a well-being coach, an executive well-being coach. Now, before the news, we played a ska track. Tell me about that track and why that track?
Yes. That's a band that my cousin was part of it. So it's called Chain Scar Brassica. The energy and setup on that, but it's one of those brilliant bands which has about 12 artists on stage, and he was a ginger-headed, dreadlocked trombone player, and sax and trumpet, and just the energy of that music, and they played and performed at family birthdays. They should have performed at my significant birthday I had a few years ago, but then COVID got in the way. And yeah, they're great guys that have got really good energy, and the music it's heartwarming. That's the point. The energy's brilliant with it.
Brilliant. Now, we're talking about mental wealth today. Just very quickly, which we haven't even spoken about yet. If anybody did want to use you as a speaker or anything else as a mental wealth coach, how could they get in contact?
Two simple ways. One is my name's kind of unique. MikePagan.com means you find it there. So the website's got all of that, or through LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn all over the place. So again, look me up on there. And if you do send me a friend request or connection request on there, please say that you've heard me through this show, because that way I'll know what I've been talking about and can make sure it sounds relevant. Otherwise, it might just sound like you're another digital marketing salesperson trying to sell me nonsense that I don't necessarily want, because we all get those all the time. Yes,
we do indeed. Now, we speak about, the British people. I'm going to use the British people part here, is that we're not very good at looking after ourselves. We always try and look after everybody else before we look after ourselves, but you're not a great believer in that necessarily, are you?
Well, it's a balance between that's what we do. The switch is changing it to self-care, looking after number one. And this, for me, is all about giving ourselves permission to be selfish. And that doesn't come naturally, because as a child, you're always taught to share with the siblings or at play groups or whatever it is. So you're always taught, don't do that because that's selfish. But actually, when we are selfish, we achieve so much more. When we do things for us, yes, you've got the cliches of put on your oxygen mask first and all those sort of things. But the reality is, I would always joke that I was number 6 in my family. Wife, 3 kids and a dog. And so the dog was above me. And we've been breeders for the guide dogs for many years. So Christmas before last, I think it was, I was relegated from number 6 to number 14. Because there were 8 Ickle Labrador puppies, and they were very, very cute and all that lot. Yeah, but so yes, so it's knowing your place. But if I'm not number 1, I can't help the rest of that family group. I can't support, and if I'm not fit for purpose, that means healthy, that means well-being, that means nutritionally, that means physically, all of the above. Then I can't do the other stuff for everybody else.
So what do you do then to look after you?
Everybody has their own thing, yeah. So, and that's the key point. We need to just do the stuff that works for us. My eldest daughter and her partner are heavily historically into Dungeons and Dragons. I don't get it. It's a different language. It's a different setup. It doesn't work. However, throw me in some water. That's a different game. I've done open water swimming for a long time. With a team of guys I used to play water polo with, we were the fastest men's relay team to swim the English Channel back in 2015. And that was after 2 years of learning about open water. But the reason why I share the story of the open water is it's an endurance sport. And what I learned there was I don't do meditation and mindfulness. I used to be a regular serious rugby player, never made it to the professional elites, something to do with not being good enough or big enough, yeah, allegedly. But I was playing for a certain club that the Bath guys enjoy beating this year. I came down when Sale played, and it was an absolute torrential rain. I was sitting on the wrong side of the wreck. Everybody else turned up with bin liners, and I just got soaked to the skin. Yeah, it's one of those. But so that whole element of I know the sporting world, but it was doing the stuff that worked for me. And I can't do meditation and mindfulness because that involves sitting still. But what I learned was actually when we get into flow, be that walking, climbing, swimming, cycling, whatever activity it is, that's active meditation. That's active mindfulness. And in the water, stroke after stroke after stroke after stroke, I've never gotten out of the water feeling worse than I did before I got in. Sometimes a little bit cold, sometimes a little bit sicky because you swallowed something maybe. But generally, you get out and you're elated. You can the endorphin rush and everything else is huge. So water is my go-to.
Now the key part of this though for me is, are you a classic British person again in how you get into the water? Because we all kind of start going in and then it comes up to the shins and you're just like, oh, and then you get to that point where your shorts start to get a little bit wet and then it's like, do you dive in? Do you just kind of get there? What's your water entry method? That is the key question of today.
Unfortunately, it depends. Because if I'm getting into swim, I get into swim. So there's no namby-pambying around. There's no, woo, yeah. I mean, it still does, woo, when you get in. But, yeah, if you're getting in just for a splash and a play, like we did on New Year's morning at 12:30, a few glasses of wine to the good, but it was completely still, completely clear where we were. So whilst it was stupid, it wasn't reckless. But we jumped in, but no, you walked in slowly and then ran out very quickly. But hey, we'd had a swim. So it's what works for you. The real science is you get in slowly. Because unless you're conditioned, unless you've got aftershock and everything, cold water shock is very real.
Okay.
So it's not about diving in head first. That can be very dangerous, especially in cold water.
Fabulous. Now, while we're talking about the sea and all of that, again, when I was stalking you, I saw a picture of you in what looked like a sailor hat. What was that all about?
Well, that's a nice story because it's about looking after the people around you, and obviously we need to be looked after ourselves. But last year, my wife and her siblings gave their father a gift of a day trip on a narrowboat that we were hiring. And so my wife and I, she was hostess with the mostess, I was Captain Pugwash, and we had 8 octogenarians on this narrowboat chugging around the canals of Birmingham. Genuinely, everybody was north of 80, if not 84. So getting them on the boat and off the boat was a challenge, and everything that went with it. So I just had to have my captain's hat for that, and it puts a smile on.
It was a lovely look. Now, if somebody did want to kind of look after their mental health, their mental wealth, and they wanted to make one step forwards this week, because as always, people often get overwhelmed going, I can't do it because it's just too much. But one tiny little step often sets you on the right path. What would be your recommendation that would be kind of a general one?
The general one is press the pause button. Just stop. Just because that whole thing of pause and reflect. I'm one of my areas I always focus on is knowing where your sanctuary is. And everybody has their own sanctuaries, whether it be a tree, whether it be a swimming pool, whether it be a coffee shop. And if it is a coffee shop, I always say make sure it's a coffee shop that has 2 floors.
Okay.
And that not because I've got problems with babies in prams, but they generally don't go upstairs. So if you want peace and quiet and sound reflection, then you go upstairs. But my sanctuary is down on the south coast, a wonderful area called Sandbanks, which is near Poole. And my parents' ashes are scattered in the sand dunes down there. Probably shouldn't say that publicly, but just did. But it's a place where I go and I just reboot, and I just sit. No phones, no noise, no distraction, everything else. So that whole point of when we are getting to that point, everything's just going frenetic. It's all fast. It's all whatever else. First thing is just let's take a time out and pause. And then it's knowing who are the right people that I need to talk to about where I'm at. And if you can't be open, honest, vulnerable, and mentally naked with those people, then they're not the right people to talk to.
Find a different tribe at that moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
that will help you.
It's all of those.
We're going to have a little pause for some music. Can you see what I did then? That was like the cheesiest radio segue in the world. It really was, but there we go.
You didn't go ka-ching or anything nasty, so the cheese wasn't fully smelly.
It wasn't. I feel like I need to do the drums now, but the like that. That feels like it needs to be done, but I haven't done that, so that's good. I just did that, never mind. We've gone for Respect by Aretha Franklin. Why this track?
It's directed at ourselves. It's directed at the people around us. When we respect ourselves, then we look after ourselves better. If we disrespect ourselves, we hit overwhelm, the wheels fall off, and the proverbial hits the fan. So a little bit of respect.
Indeed so. Right, coming up now, we'll be back with Mike right after this. Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath today. Charlotte's up at 12 o'clock as usual. My guest today is Mike Pagan, who is a mental wealth expert. I'm going to go with that description now. I like describing people different ways each time. I really do. We're going to talk about your books now.
Please do.
Now, I often joke about this fact that for those that know me, I'm currently writing a book called Who Are You to Give Me Advice? And normally I can shoehorn my book into any conversation, whatever the subject matter is, within a few minutes. And we are now 22 minutes past 11, an hour and 20 minutes into the show. This is the first time I've mentioned my book, which I'm very proud of myself with. But we're here not to talk about my book. We're here to talk about your books, one of which I've downloaded, which was Mental Wealth. Tell me about that book first.
Okay, well, that book was. I hadn't planned to write that book at that time, but it was the situations going on. I was writing a book about masterminding, so peer support groups, and that is part of mental wealth. It's one of the structures in that book, and I just didn't feel it was a book on its own, and then. The language and the work I was doing with the sports guys just gave me that whole umbrella focus on we all need this overriding support through business resilience and sort of human strength. So, but where does that come from? Well, that's when we've got mental wealth, when we've got strength around us, and that's where the book evolved, and it's a easy read. It's not War and Peace. It's and there is an audio version, as we've already described,
as I'm listening to now.
But for me, the first part of the book is all about understanding. So there's elements we mentioned self-care, but it's elements of knowing who is in your support network, and there's a challenge in there for you to actually score and understand who are the people that have truly got your back. And it's a subjective, emotional challenge to understand. Well, is that person a 3 out of 10 in my support network or a 9 out of 10? And so the terminology and knowing who those people are, because there's a lot of people in our worlds who I would score them a 3 out of 10. Well, they know you then. They're just an acquaintance. If you don't turn up, they won't ring.
Yeah.
And it's knowing the difference between people that are noise in our worlds versus those who are actually in our inner sanctum.
So what would you do with those people then that are simply acquaintances? If you needed support?
Well, you wouldn't ask them. That's the point. It's an over-reliance on the wrong people, and realizing, okay, we have a void. When people in audiences of mine, where I've been speaking at large conferences or in small groups or one-to-one, the number of them that turn around and they have zero of the 8, 9s and 10s, the top interconnected people that are helping them, because they fix everything else. And it's that 6s and 7s. I've got some of my great friends are 6s and 7s, but I would never drop my guard and be totally open with them on everything. And it's knowing, oh, well, does that mean I've got to dump them as a friend? No, they're a great friend to go and play golf with, to swim with, to meet up and have dinner and so on. But they're just not that inner sanctum. And we get confused between people that sort of create the va-va-voom and the joy and the fun bits, or sometimes they're not so fun, versus those who actually, I've got a situation here and I need some real solid support. Or I haven't got a situation here, but I want to do this over the next 2 years and I need people to help me grow towards that.
Yeah. Now, one of the things which I haven't unfortunately got too far in your book, just it's been quite a busy week, but I have started listening to it. I've got to that point of scoring, actually. But there was a bit that was before then, which I really, really liked, which I'd love your opinion on. And that is, most of us have an issue that we have this certain brick that we carry around with us, known as our mobile phone, which is the best thing in the world and also the worst thing in the world. And you gave a really, really simple tip in there, which was, if somebody's talking to you, what should they do with their phone?
Well, it shouldn't be on the table. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be out.
Just put it down.
Yeah, it's not, because the phone is one of those things. They're brilliant, but they're brilliant distractors. The key tip for anybody, if you've got any queries about the amount of usage on your phone, just open up whatever app is in that phone, because they've all got them, and it will track the amount of time that you spend. Yeah, you can set the blockers, but everybody overrides that. So they're hardly worth it. But the reality check, and this is the nugget. The amount of time we donate to the god of mobile phones, to the god of Netflix box sets, to the god of alcohol, whatever it happens to be, whatever our leakage is, none of us have enough time to do stuff. None of us have time to perform and create and deliver, because we're always too busy. But on a weekly basis, and I've done the analysis around this, I would conservatively donate 15 hours a week to the god of alcohol.
Right.
Now, that's not saying I'm an alcoholic or anything like that. It was just social, out, drinking, and that excluded hangovers and recovery time. Yeah, so that was just a simple number. Now, there's obviously people listening that don't drink. So, well, that's not relevant to me. Yes, but you do sit in front of your Facebook, TikTok, and whatever else. Depending on which research you look at, some will say we donate 30 to 60 hours a week to the god of streaming. Now, 15 hours a week is 2 working days a week, if it's 7.5 hours per working day. That's 100 days a year that we donate. Now turn it the other way around and look at that from what they're describing. That's twice that or 3 times that. But we have no time, but we can unintentionally self-sabotage our performance by donating 150, 200 days a year of productivity time to a mobile phone or to a Netflix box set or whatever it is. So I'm not saying don't do it, because that's clearly, well, what am I going to do with my time now? But it's the reality check. Everybody says I have no time, but we hemorrhage it all over the place with negative habits that use it all up. And more often than not, we need somebody else to hold us accountable to that or to challenge us, because we're not disciplined enough as individuals to stop it and put the damn thing down.
What's quite nice for me is that I'm chatting to yourself, a published author, and a very obviously professional speaker on all of this type of stuff. And the things that I've written aren't that dissimilar. I've gone down that route as well, but I've also used toothbrush exercises as well. So for 4 minutes a day, gone on a much smaller level. 4 minutes a day, I now stretch. I do stretches while I'm doing my toothbrushing. for 4 minutes a day because I wasn't finding time to stretch. And I now use that time. And then you multiply that out across a year and you go, it's quite a lot of time because we all brush our teeth hopefully twice a day. If you don't, then decay is really not very pleasant.
No, I can relate to that one. And in the same vein, I do a certain number of press-ups every day, have done for donkey's years. And the only time in the last 25 years that I didn't do my press-ups was the day we swam the English Channel. Okay, then that's an excuse.
You have done some other exercise that day. And I don't know about you, I personally have found it quite hard to do press-ups on water. There's something about it which is a bit of an issue. So that's mental wealth, and that's surrounding yourself basically with people, isn't it, to support yourself?
Then it's proactively recruiting them and knowing where to get them from, because whether it's I need a 2.0 of Bob, so I need the next version, that doesn't mean to say I've got to bin Bob and not talk to him anymore, but it just means I need the next version of. Or it just means I need to go out and I need to find somebody else who's in that. And that can be from the professional network that we need, from the coaching support that we need, or the peer support group, the masterminds. And that for me is one of the most powerful tools out there. When you get a collective of people around you, some people call that a hive mind is a phrase that's used around it nowadays. But you actually recruit people and you're in that setup where they're all asking each other questions and challenging. It's sort of, the Americans try and claim it with Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, that they were the instigators, and then turn around and say, well, no, actually, it was the Lunar Society in the 1760s in Birmingham in the UK that they had luminaries, hence the word, like Erasmus Darwin and Matthew Bolton. So these people that were pushing the boundaries of religion and also the Industrial Revolution going on. And those guys met in secret under the light of the full moon because of those being challenged. But they were all non-competitive, supporting each other, holding each other accountable for the ideas going forward. And that's one of the most powerful tools we can build.
Now, my guest last week, who was a chap called Ben Veal, he's a podcaster and author. For anybody that is local to Bath, of course, he does a Wiltshire networking group. So they go out walking and they're simply networking at the same time. So yeah, have a look at Ben Veal on Facebook and all the other places you can do any socials. But yeah, he does that, which I think is a really lovely thing. So you're going out for a walk just for an hour or so. Because I struggle with business breakfasts, largely because I work late at night and I need sleep.
Yeah. And well, there's one of the challenges that everybody always gets upset about. Well, I'm not a morning person, so I can't do that. Then don't do it. A coach of mine years ago, I was getting upset because I'd go along to an evening event and I'd be bored and fidgety before the main course had turned up. To which the question was, well, what are the timings? And he said, well, it's a 7 for 7:30 start. So he said, so you turn up just after 7, don't you? And I said, yeah, military family. Yeah, 7:01. Yeah. He said, well, turn up at 7:29. And literally just turning up later pushed everything half an hour forward. So by the time I was getting fidgety and irritable and wanting to go, the dessert was coming. And so there was light at the end of the tunnel.
There you go.
And it's just, so it's knowing what your capacity is for small talk and network and everything else. If you're not a morning person, don't be. Start work at 10.
Yeah.
If you're not an evening person, don't try and work at 10 o'clock at night because you're just going to be a cabbage. Go to bed and get up at 6.
Absolutely. Time for more music. Wilson Pickett, Mustang Sally. Tell me why.
Mustang Sally, my wife and bridesmaids and mates singing it at our wedding many years ago. Love a bit of soul, love a bit of fire. It's a great track for us.
Brilliant. Back with a quick fire round right after this.
Mustang Sally, guess you better slow your Mustang down. Oh Lord, what I said.
Back for the last part now. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday. Charlotte's up next. It's quick fire time with Mike Pagan. He's my guest today. We've been talking all about mental wealth because he's an executive well-being coach. Blimey, there's a phrase and a half. So, here we go. Now, your quick fire round. There are 11 random questions. You have the original set. For guests that come on a couple of times, by the way, I have a second set of questions. which are completely different. But you've got the originals. And they've been the same way for some time now. Right. Question number 1 then. What's your favourite ice cream?
Vanilla.
You're a vanilla person.
It sounds boring, dull, because that's what other members of my family accuse me of. But yeah, no. The other stuff, it gets in the way of whatever else. I'm a simple fellow. I'm a savoury, not sweet. So don't bother giving me cookie dough, chewy nonsense, caramelly. It's all too sweet and sickly. But no, a quality creamy vanilla, yeah, game on.
I had the opinion the other day where I was in a certain supermarket called Tesco, and I was buying their cheap versions, the mini versions of Magnums, and they were okay. They really were okay. And then the proper Magnums were on sale once, and I bought those, and the difference in the quality of the vanilla ice cream inside meant that I've never gone back.
Ooh, I would challenge that. I think you probably had a melted pack.
Yeah, the quality of the Magnum ice cream was just so much better. So good quality vanilla ice cream, I get that. I think I know the answer to this one. Are you tidy or messy? Oh, there's a whole pause there, which tells me the answer is the opposite than what I thought.
Well, the ugly answer is it depends. I'm scattered. But I'm relatively tidy, but when I'm not tidy, I know where everything is.
So I'm going to ask you what your wife would say.
She couldn't work on my desk because it's not tidy enough.
Right.
Yeah, but she would have everything in little cubicles and sort of with labels on it and color coordinated or whatever else. I'm not that, so I'm probably on the less than tidy, but I wouldn't call myself messy.
Fair enough. Love or hate roller coasters?
Roller coasters, I enjoy them. I don't love them. I had a holiday a number of years ago where we went to Disney. My youngest, he was too small to go on the rides. My eldest and my wife were getting nauseous, so I had to go with my middle daughter as my buddy companion, and we always had to go in the front row and just squeal like nonsense idiots, and we had a lot of fun. It's
what you've got to do when you're on a roller coaster. You're allowed to scream.
Sitting there mute trying to be cool. No,
it doesn't happen at all. It's a very exciting year. So I've got 3 older children who are all adults now, and we do go to theme parks quite a lot. But my youngest, who's just turned 10, she is now 1.40 meters, which is the height where you can go on the big rides.
That's the With my youngest nowadays is the other side of the planet at university and currently diving in Thailand. And I was asked by a friend on whose coin, to which I said on his own. And she said, well, well done.
Absolutely. Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back? Is it like a waterfall or is it hanging like a mullet round the back?
Yeah, that's the question. Is it a mullet or a fringe? It should be a mullet.
No, you think it's a mullet? No, it should be a fringe.
Because then it's tidy. It's tidy away. See, that's what I said. I'm not messy, but yeah, I'm not obsessive either.
So you hang your toilet rolls around the back, then, do you? Effectively?
I'd have said, yeah, I think that's around the back.
Yeah. Okay. There is an official reason why it shouldn't be done like that, which I'm now going to say, which I don't often get to say, because most people say should be round the front, which is standard.
Like to put on your anorak before you start this?
Oh, this is me jumping up on a soapbox, full on. Okay. Now the reason being, and this is what time is it? It's nearly midday. We'll be fine. Is that there are certain parts of your anatomy, should we say, that you are wiping. That's inevitable if you're using the toilet roll. And when you then go to get the next bit of toilet roll, sadly, there's still parts of what's come out of you on your hands, and therefore that goes on the wall, and therefore that sits there, which is why it should be round the other way.
I can understand that. Unfortunately, my balance isn't having that sort of level of issues that I need to hold onto the wall to wipe my bum.
Okay.
But it's a different story.
Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
As we've already established, I don't have a sweet tooth massive. However, if you are having a bit of Yorkie or a dairy milk or whatever else, from the fridge is far more fun.
I'm a fridge person too. I like it from the fridge. Yeah, it's much better. Right, now, you said you come from a military family, so I think I know the answer to this one. But do you make your bed in the morning?
No,
You don't make your bed in the morning. Tell me why not.
because you kick it back so that it airs.
Okay, so you're a folding over job to allow the bed bugs to go.
Yeah.
So that's still making it really, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. It's not scrunched in the corner.
No.
It's folded back generally, or kicked back and then tidied up. Yeah.
Okay, and my follow-up question is always, apart from the pillows on the bed, do you have any extra cushions that sit on your bed?
When the bed is made by her ladyship and there's guests that might be around, then the 3 cushions that normally sit on the floor next to the bed get placed very, very smartly and lovely in the middle on the top. Otherwise, no.
No. So if you were by yourself, hopefully that would never happen, would you have cushions on your bed?
No. Well, they just get in the way. They're
Couldn't
only
agree
good. If we had animals allowed upstairs, having guide dogs don't go upstairs. They stay downstairs. That's part of the rules. So we've never had an upstairs dog. Plus the fact they molt so much you wouldn't want them upstairs. But that's the only thing for a cushion would be to throw at a cat or a dog. That would be the only reason. What other reason would you want it?
It looks pretty, apparently, I've been told. What is your favourite breakfast?
Favourite breakfast? I don't often eat breakfast. I quite often do all these faddy things of different not eatings and other stuff like that. All part of looking after my self-care. Yeah, I know. But I'm just looking to the side for cupboard inspiration. Frosties is a treat. I don't often have them, but it's just sort of Frosties with a bit of chopped up banana and that's it's a treat. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. If you had to do it, what would be your go-to karaoke song?
You've taken me back to being a student in London many, many moons ago, and me and one of my rugby pals doing Soft Cell, Tainted Love in a very non-politically correct style of the day. So that's one that I've done in the past. I generally don't do karaoke, but I'm too sober nowadays. I think is probably the reason.
And how would Tainted Love sound? I can't remember how it sounds. Could you give us a quick rendition of it? Or
absolutely not.
I was wondering if you were going to fall for that, but no, I realised fairly quickly you weren't that stupid, really.
Sorry, you dropped for a moment.
Oh, sorry, apologies. I was just saying I thought you might fall for it, but sadly you didn't. So
I sensed where you were going there.
Yeah. Favourite TV programme or film?
Ooh. I mean, you always love a bit of Luther and thrillers and sort of some of the military movies. Yeah, The Great Escape is always on. I've still got a memory of when I was about toddler age, and I'm standing there in front of the television, and a World War II movie is on, and my father and mother turned around and said, "So what are you doing? What are you standing so close?" I'm looking for you, Dad, in the war.
Wow.
What they said was a cute little boy. So yeah.
So what was your dad then? He was ex-military, so...
Yeah, well, he did his TA and all that stuff. Sorry, not TA, National Service. And then uncle was a colonel, lost my grandfather's brother in the Battle of the Somme. So there's a wonderful picture of my son with his school doing a school trip to the battlefields, with him laying the school wreath at my great uncle's grave. So there's a history there.
Amazing. Right. If you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why?
We've talked about water. With the whole setup, people automatically think you're going to say octopus or dolphin, or because octopus obviously has a couple of brains and things. I think just the in the sea, the most impressive animal I've ever swum with and had the privilege to was whale shark. And my son has just done that recently as well, so he's buzzing. So, yeah, coming back as one of those, yeah, it's just it's like swimming next to a submarine.
Wow.
That means no harm. It doesn't attack. It's not the shark from the killer point of view because it's a plankton eater. But it's just magical, mythical beasts of the deep.
The closest I've got is last year in Bali. We swam with some manta ray, and they were amazing. Again, it's very surreal, isn't it? You're under the water. We were just snorkeling, but you're under the water and you're seeing these just beautiful creatures in their natural habitat. It's not a zoo, and it's just a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, totally.
It really is. And your last question, which I think, again, is going to be a very obvious answer, but where is your happy place?
My happy place? Well, I've got my sanctuary.
Yeah.
Which is down on the south coast of England. My happy place, though, would be under the water, just sitting there on the sea floor, blowing bubbles, talking to fish, talking to whatever else, because it's just one with nature entirely, and that really gets me every time.
Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on today. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure, and I know we had a whole list of questions to go through. The rehearsals were intense. The challenge was there, and it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed it, and I hope everybody listening has got it, and it's been fun for them.
And if somebody did want to get in contact with you to use you as a speaker or wellbeing coach, how could they do that?
The simple one, mikepagan.com is the website. You'll find me through that, or LinkedIn is where I'm active, and those are the simplest ways of communicating. But if you do reach out, please mention you've heard me through this show so that I know what I've been talking about, because clearly we covered some left field stuff today, which is exactly what this is meant to be about. It's entertainment, isn't it?
Indeed so. Now, you've chosen the last track, which is What About Us by Pink. Why Pink?
Pink, I have three feisty women in my house, or well, my household, should I say? So that kind of there had to be a bit of Pink, and yeah, she stands tall. She delivers what she says. She's a very inspirational woman as well as a great entertainer. So yeah, why not?
Brilliant. I'm back next week between 10 and 12. Another live guest coming up then. Really looking forward to that. If you've missed any of the show today, then you can type in Radio Bath to any podcast provider, and you can get this show as well as all of the other ones that I've done over the last few years as well. I hope you have a fantastic week. I'll be back next week. Have a great one.
We are searchlights we can see in the dark. We are rockets pointed up at the stars. We are billions of beautiful hearts